Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach, and now personal trainer with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. This month in May will be on the topic of resilient love. I have with me Nick Burnett, and we're going to talk about mother's mental health and love and peripartum and postpartum. Takes me a second to not menopause. We're talking about before baby and after baby, all the in between. Health and mom and why that's important. So thank you for being here with me. Nick, can you please tell us a little bit more about you?
Absolutely. So I am a clinical social worker by profession. I'm the owner of Destination Fortified Counseling and Wellness, where we emphasize on proactive mental health treatment. My primary scope of practice is with women, many of them who are pregnant or moms of small children. And so that's pretty much me in a nutshell in what I do.
So I'm curious, as you women are brought to you or you're screening women, what are some of the things you're looking for that might be a sign they need some support in this area?
Absolutely. So I believe that all women need some support first and foremost. But women who have small children, I feel that, there's a serious adjustment that takes place between becoming a new mom, even when you already have children, and, adding more to the family. It's a huge adjustment for everybody. And moms are, the backbone. They're the ones who are responsible for showing up no matter what. And I find that moms, a lot of time, they don't know who they are. They just know that they're supposed to take care of everybody, hold everything together, and they neglect themselves a lot.
So I think some people from at least our podcast have got to learn what doulas are. How is that different than being a doula, for example?
Yeah, so basically, I provide psychotherapy. So we're identifying any mental health symptoms you might be experiencing, depression, anxiety, having a difficulty with sleeping, low appetite, things of that nature. So we're actually diagnosing a mental illness, and then we're providing the appropriate treatment intervention. So it might look more like what they call CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy. So restructuring our thoughts, encouraging, us to get active and moving, watch what we eat, see how we can get more sleep and more rest so that overall we feel better.
And I bet that looks different for every mom and every child that comes into the family as well, because they don't come with a manual. And I'm glad someone told me they're all going to be different.
Absolutely. That is the truth.
How do you adjust? Do you let the mom pick from a set of options, or are you able to observe, here's some other ways maybe we need to approach your sleep? How do you evaluate and then give strategies?
So initially, we start out with what's called a biopsychosocial assessment. So that's where I ask a ton of questions, just try to get an idea of their overall situation. What are they struggling with? What support do they have? How have they been coping so far? Even family history matters. So if they've had a mom or grandmother, aunts who've suffered from mental illness, a lot of times that will impact, their symptoms, and what treatment might be helpful for them. So once we have that information, we come up with their treatment plan. So what is it that you feel, that you really need to start working on right now in therapy? So once they tell me their goals, then I help them to identify those little teeny tiny action steps. So small steps we can take to reach those overall goals and then get back on track and, feeling like themselves again.
Well, and I love what you mentioned before we get on, that you want to work with moms because then it affects the children, and really it can affect generations. It's a great place to start to support the family and support society.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So like I said, I believe in proactive mental health treatment. So not waiting until, we've hit rock bottom to intervene. And so I feel like if we support moms, we're supporting their children, the family as a whole, and children are the future. So obviously the next generation as well.
I like the saying, happy mothers, happy children, happy homes, in that order.
Yes.
And I'm not leaving out the dads. I'm just saying. That's usually who's at home, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean dads matter too. But like I said, the mom is usually the one that's responsible for making sure that everyone, has what they need, they get where they need to go. And we women cannot pour from an empty cup. And so I'm trying to help women, recognize that it is not selfish to take care of yourself first. When you take care of yourself first, automatically everybody else benefits.
Absolutely. And moms are being asked a lot of today. We have a lot of challenges and new technology and different things going on in the world. And so we have a lot of hats that we're being asked to wear. I'm curious what techniques are really working for moms right now, or what are some of your favorite ways to implement this work?
Yeah, so it's important to be organized. Like you said, moms wear so many different hats. These days we're working, we're business owners, and then we're also, asked to help out at the school, and to help our husbands with their jobs sometimes as well.
So what strategies would you give, for example, to a mom who's like really sick at the beginning of a pregnancy or is really having trouble sleep? What are some of your favorite ways to address those things?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, identifying their support, what support looks like for them, who
Mm.
can they call on? And so, if you're recognizing, that you're having a lot of morning sickness, for example, then it might be helpful to talk with your physician, see if there's a medication that might help. And then, if you have a partner, somebody who can be there to support you, make sure you have your ginger ale. They say saltine crackers can help too. Just having a plan in place instead of waiting until it happens and we really, really, need something. Just knowing that you have something there just in case a lot of times can cause things to kind of subside or not happen as frequently, believe it or not. Maybe it's a mind thing. But yeah, having that plan in place, being prepared. Same
I
thing
think,
with sleep,
yeah.
having a plan, a wind down routine.
Yeah. And I think that's even more essential for first time moms who don't know how it's going to go for them. I think it's a little easier after one or two pregnancies, but then every pregnancy can be totally different too. But you've
Yes.
done a little bit of research by then and you've tried a few things. Whereas I think first time mom, if you don't have like a super supportive like sister or mother or aunt or somebody, and you may have a great partner even, it's really different to kind of get it one-on-one with another woman. And I remember first being pregnant and like they tell you all the horror stories. Why do people do that? That's not helpful. Don't do that. Give them the good stories. Okay, give them something that's helpful. Don't do that. Like ginger is good for the throwing up, or like a papaya
Mhm.
enzymes are good for the stomach acid, or I eat a lot of almonds, and I guess that's why my kids have a lot of hair, and I don't anymore. I don't know, but needless to say, this is support. I think moms the first night around need to know as much as possible. I think I was very
Mhm.
naive and just kind of trusted myself to a system. And through each pregnancy and each experience, I realized there were way more options available to me than just, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm gonna go to the hospital. They're gonna take care of me because that's what I've been told my whole life. And there's so
Mhm.
many other ways to do it. There's home water births. There's doing it at a center that is a midwife slash nurse. There is the hospital if you need to, and some have options within the hospital. So I think it's so important to do research with everything. And what you're talking about is, I think, also what people don't think about. They're just thinking about the pregnancy, the middle, the delivery,
Yeah.
versus before preparation and after as well, because the changes in hormones and the fluctuation of
Mhm.
everything going on, if you're not prepared for that change that you're talking about, can really throw you for a loop. And for some women, it does get into the postpartum depression. And that can be
Yes.
a dark place to end up at that you don't want to be there. And sometimes it's preventable, sometimes it's inherited, like you said. I think there's also generational trauma that kind of comes with some things, and we may be the ones that need to heal it. And so you
Mhm.
never know. But any of the work that comes from the inside and here is going to also affect the baby. From what I'm understanding, everything the mom is feeling, everything she is eating, her habits, all of those things affect their baby. And it's kind of funny right now because I was doing college while I was pregnant with my son, and I've noticed that I was doing math, which is not my favorite subject at all, but I had to get my college like algebra done. And he's Mr. Numbers. He's like throwing numbers out all the time. And
Wow.
that must be because I was doing math while he was right there, like right next to me while I was doing the math, right? So I'm like, that's not my thing at all. But I was doing that while I was pregnant. So you never know. Being proactive
Mhm.
like that could have a lifetime of positive effects, I think, as well. So do you find
Yes.
that to be true?
I've heard things like that. I haven't seen yet for myself, but that'd be very, very interesting.
And it's the experiment. Let's follow pregnant women, what they're doing, and see what careers their kids end up in. No.
Exactly.
um, what is the favorite part of the work that you do for you?
Oh my gosh. When people get well, when they feel better,
Mm,
because in that beginning, when you're doing that initial visit, people don't say it, but you know that there's a sense of hopelessness there,
mm,
especially if they've been struggling for a while.
mm,
And so when they trust the process, they show up consistently, and then they see the changes for themselves. My
mm,
favorite question to ask at the start of each session is, what successes have you had since we last met? And then, of course, I'll ask about the challenges as well. But when they start rattling off the successes, sometimes you have to have them pause and say, like, hey, like, do you recognize like
mm,
what you're doing? Like, this is all you. Because I don't just, tell people what to do. My job isn't to fix anybody. It's
mhm.
just to be here as a support and an accountability partner. But the clients have to do the work. So when they recognize that, things are getting better and it's because of their effort, that's a great feeling. Very rewarding.
I love calling it the wins. Give me your wins for the week if I'm
Mhm.
coaching someone. But even my personal training clients, when they hit a milestone or they even start moving in the right direction or they're out of pain, like that's the thrill. It's like, okay, the work that we're doing is getting results for you and the results that you
Mhm.
want because we're designing this program for you. And that's the value of a coach, a value of counseling, value of doulas, even for emotional support. There's like so many options that I don't think people realize are available that I'm really glad we have the opportunity to present that here and to share it with
Mhm.
an audience of mothers because that's what's important. We're the foundation of society. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world is a very, very true statement. And this is the precious time when someone gets to become a mom and be mom. It is very, very precious. And we want to be present and we want to enjoy our baby. We want to enjoy the pregnancy or do what we can to enjoy this miracle that we get to be a part of. And not everyone gets that privilege, sadly. And it's there's like this sense of awe and gratitude for whatever our experience is. But for any mom, why not make it the best that it possibly could be? Why not do something to support them? Why not make it a beautiful thing for their family? Any way that we can do that lifts society and makes us all better. And I'm all for it.
Yes, absolutely. I think that another thing with, new moms is they feel like, okay, I'm supposed to be responsible for another human.
Mm.
And I have to remind them sometimes, like, you can never be prepared for something that you've never done before.
Nope.
Like, you can never. And even once that baby gets here, you're gonna think you've figured them out, and then the next month they're a different kid.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
crazy. And like you said, no, just like no pregnancies might not be, the same, children are not the same once they're here. Yeah. So
Yeah. No. Yeah.
you just have to expect the unexpected.
Oh,
Go with it.
exactly. But I think too, just really knowing what works for you ahead of time is a little bit helpful. And so I'm glad to hear about
Absolutely.
pre ahead of time having a plan, having something in place, having the support in place, because it's when you don't have the support in place and something catches you off guard and you don't have a set of tools is often when mental health goes down because you're at a loss at what to do or you're hit with something so strong that you weren't prepared for it. And that's where some people are ashamed to ask for help and admit that they're struggling because
Mhm.
I thought I had this handled. I thought I was okay. And it's like sometimes it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes it's
Yes.
okay to ask for help. And even if you recognize somebody that's struggling and you offer to get them help, I don't think there's any shame behind that. I will say, though, I don't like when people offer, they're not comfortable helping, but they feel obligated to help. It's better to find someone who can help and go, I don't know how to help with this. I'm not comfortable. This is what I can help with. This is what I cannot help with. I'm not comfortable or I don't have experience here. Instead, go help find someone who does is a lot more better. Like I had 3 different doulas that helped me during COVID because they just weren't very available. And I kind of had to spread them out during things. And one had a nutrition background. So she was the one that helped me with meals. She was absolutely phenomenal at that. They were nutritious meals. She knew what I needed in them for the pregnancy, and we prepared them and froze them ahead of time. Like, I don't know, it helps so much, and gave me a system that I could start thinking about and following. And she had a lot of kids, so it was a system she had to get in place for it to work, was making in bulk and putting it away and be ready to go, right? And then one of the other doulas had more of a midwife background, so she was actually alone, but more able to help with testing and different things and seeing where I was at health wise, and then giving me more ideas of what to do before and after and during from her knowledge. And then the other doula I had was seriously just so compassionate. She would let me talk. She would let me vent. She would come clean my house. She would tell me with my son. So they all had something different that they brought. And it was so lovely not having family nearby, being in lockdown and all of those things, like just to kind of give myself permission to create that support and know that I needed it, and not to be ashamed of asking for it. And then seeking out other resources that were in the community. And I didn't realize how many there were till I started looking. And so if you're lacking in something or falling short in some way, or you think you need something, look out in your community, your church, often a community has a pregnancy center, and you'd be surprised what they have there. And it's not a negative space at all. It really supports moms in every way. I think some people think that's a negative space, but I found it not to be at all. And then there's just communities, there's foundations, there are government organizations, there are so many people that want to help mom, but I think sometimes they don't go out and find that resource because they just don't know it's there. Do you implement other resources with the work that you do when you see it necessary?
Absolutely. So like I said, my credentials are, clinical social worker. So that from day one, my job has been to connect people to resources. So that's what I'm mostly trained in. The therapy piece is a little newer, maybe within the past couple of years. But yeah, connecting people to resources, pointing them, where they should go. That's definitely something that I do. But it's one thing to go out into the community and ask for help. But what I'm finding that a lot of moms are struggling with is asking for help just within their own household and within their own family. And so a lot of times I end up just teaching women how to, assert themselves, how to communicate. Let's not be passive aggressive. Let's not assume that dad knows what you and baby needs, but flat out ask him, and then don't take the crumbs. So, you might ask for something and you might get a little bit and it's like, okay, this is good. But then you turn around the next week and it's like, we're back to the same old, so it's like, I'm just not even going to ask. I'm not. And so I have to be like, no, keep asking and then ask for more so that you get, consistency. But with mom's jobs are also to hold people accountable for helping them and not just deciding to just, be quiet because no one's gonna help, no one's gonna do what I'm asking, or they're not consistent, or even feel guilty about asking. So we work through a lot of that too.
Well, and I recently heard something that a lot of divorce actually happens because of the misunderstanding of the needs that a mom has postpartum with the partner. Like, they just don't understand the massive changes that is going through a woman's body. Like, her womb from giving birth is the size of a dish plate, like a large dish plate. It takes a lot of time for that to shrink down, for things to get back into place, let alone the hormones and taking care of the baby and all of the things. And yes, they need to go to work and do their part of all of that. But anymore, I think a lot of couples are recognizing there's a partnership here. Like, there is give and take, and it's the whole household. It's not just the separate duties that used to clearly be in place. I guess 1950s is the simplest example. It just is. And that was that time. We're in a very different time. And often people need incomes right now for things that are going on in the world and inflation and all those things. So there's extra pressure on couples that what can make or break you, but understanding that mom has a lot of healing to do postpartum. Her body is healing, and she's producing milk, and she's getting used to whatever temperament this child has, whether that is sleeping, not sleeping, colic, or has some little things that need to be addressed that they didn't find when they were born, or different things. And new moms especially, like, there's so much help that you need. And I think too, though, there is, at least for me, there is like this mother instinct that like kicked in. Like, there was something that just flipped in me. I remember the switch that went on, and boy, was my love just like, I will do anything for this little person. I will run in front of a car. I will do whatever, like this kind of, I don't know, just I am going to show up. I am going to be here. I'm going to do the best that I absolutely can because somebody's counting on me now. And it wasn't so much of that, like I needed someone to love me. It was more like I really loved having this little person in my life. I really feel like God gave me my children for a reason. I've learned different things from all of them that have expanded me as a human being that I don't see any other way I could have expanded or being pulled and tugged like taffy in so many different directions because I wouldn't have chose it originally. But I also think to just think, I think people love coming over and seeing the baby's little toes and holding them and all these things. But I distinctly have this memory, and I probably shared it before, of like a woman coming over, uncovering my baby's toes, playing with their toes a little bit, leaving a little something and leaving. And I have this huge pile of dishes behind me, like huge. Yep. I'm like, how could you miss it? Did you not see I needed some help? Like I was actually supposed to be in bed. I think I had actually come out to get an ice pack for my pelvic floor or something, just because I only had 2 little kids at home and I just couldn't wait kind of thing. So I wasn't even supposed to be up at that time. And I just was like, yes, my baby's cute. Thank you. All babies are cute. Help. Like maybe I should have been more assertive, but like I think I just assumed that like it was obvious. But then I've come to realize some people think, oh, well, maybe that's the way they live and I don't want to be offensive by offering to. I'm like, come on, everybody likes help with their dishes. Like what's going to happen? They say, no, that's okay. I'll get it. Like, I think lean on the side of doing a little something. If you're going to come see the baby, do something. Don't just come for the visit, say cute kid. I mean, it's nice, but.
Agreed.
The mom needs all the support she can get. Don't assume she's getting it. I've also had my mother-in-law at the time come visit just for the weekend, and they thought she was there all week. She was not there all week. My mom has done this every single time. She's come for like the baby blessing, and everyone's like, "Oh, she's been there helping for a week." Nope, she never. Nope. That did not happen. Thanks for thinking so. Or they assume you have a sister, or they assume you have an aunt, or never assume that a mom has support. She can always use more. At least that's what I found.
And it's different now too. Maybe, I don't know if it's because grandparents are a lot younger than they were, when we were small. I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but it's interesting to see. And a lot of times when we recognize as moms what we would have liked for someone to do for us, it's easier for us to say, let me do this for my friend. I have a very good friend. She has 2 kids now. And so when she had her first, I made them dinner. It was, what was it? Like a baked shrimp and chicken Alfredo and garlic bread. So when she gave birth the second time, she sent me a text. And she says, hey, Anthony, that's her husband. Anthony says, we'll be waiting on our shrimp and chicken Alfredo dinner. So of course, I delivered once again. And unfortunately, their family is not local. So I kind of felt like, I needed to stand in that gap since their mom and sister is like, a couple hours away. But again, everybody,
gap. I love
yes. But everybody just does not have, that instinct or, that sense of hospitality and looking out for people. And so in knowing that, you just cannot assume, you just have to ask for what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes you can ask for what you need and someone might not be able to get that resource for you, or they're not the person. That doesn't mean stop asking. That was just not the right person to ask for it. Ask for someone else. I remember when I was told I was asking too much, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just, I didn't know how to take that. I was like, I just told you the situation. I told you exactly what I need. That was hard for me to do. I didn't want to ask for help. And then I got told I was asking too much. I was like, okay. But and I don't know if that comes from the need to like, well, you need to be self-reliant. You need to be self-sufficient. Like, I get that. But like a mom in any situation, peripartum, postpartum, in the middle, in the thick of it, I don't think you can ask too much. honestly. I don't feel like asking for a couple meals or asking for help with the older kids or anything like that is too much. It was kind of a weird situation, but I don't want that to stop somebody either, because somebody else just keep asking. And then sometimes you have
Yeah.
situations where you just learn that you're more resilient than you thought as a mom. Like you're like, I handled that.
Mhm.
That was crazy, but I did it. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've had a client ask me that question. She says, "How how do I differentiate between what's okay to ask of my husband and when am I asking for too much?" And I
yeah.
said, "You can never ask for too much.
Aw,
Never." And not to compare and say, "Well, I carried a baby for 9 months and I gave birth," and to expect him to be able to compete with that because men can't.
no.
Um, but if you're nursing, then okay, you can nurse, he can change a diaper. Or
Yeah.
if you're bottle feeding, then if you take a night off, it's like, okay, well, I'll pump so that you can bottle feed. There's systems, baths, things like that. There are many ways that
Not
that
sleeping
everybody
at
can
the
help.
same time. My biggest advice, do not sleep at the same time in case the baby gets up. One person sleeps and the other person
Yeah.
takes care of baby and swash. In those first few days, that did not happen. And it was a little maddening because when you're both tired and you're both sleeping at the same time when baby's sleeping, then you're both depleted. That doesn't really work for the
Yeah.
dad is home. I think I just don't think they want to be a part of it and they want to be like, but sleep is so essential in those first few days. Don't underestimate it. You're not going to miss something that like together. Like I'm sure
Mhm.
your partner could wake you up if something really super cute happens, but you also get to have that bond. Dad and child is really important.
Mhm.
And I think that is underestimated. I love seeing dads who do skin to skin with their babies and like really take those first few days and things very seriously. And moms need to give that opportunity too. I'm a bit of a
Yeah.
hoarder with my babies. I don't want anybody to hold them. I'm a little hard even of letting my partners hold them. I'm like mine, that smell, the warmth. I just want them on me all the time. That was my instinct. But I think I could have done better of sharing that a little bit more.
Mhm.
So that because they can feel left out too. Like if you don't share a little bit, that they can feel a little bit left out, and they need that bond as much with baby as you do. So baby can trust both,
Mhm.
and it's easier for them to go back and forth from with you for care. And so
Yes.
I love that you shared that because I do think the partner needs to decide what that boundary is instead of you deciding what that boundary is. If you do ask too much,
Absolutely.
like I that's too much for me, they can say that. Like, but they
Mhm.
may be willing to do more than you are letting them do.
Right.
if and sometimes they might need you to show them how you want that done or what would be helpful or let them be more of the process. I know we had a big
Mhm.
in our household. I was making homemade baby food. I was like one of those organic moms, didn't use the refrigerator or the microwave for years,
Mhm.
made everything from scratch. And I'd never made squash baby food before, but I'd made some jars and then realized, oh, you got to refilter it. You have to make it even finer before introducing it. Well, that's in the fridge. I had gotten sick. It's in the back. And he knew I was making baby food. He didn't know that baby food wasn't ready. And we kind of had a mishap because he wasn't there helping me with those kind of things. And I should have put, I don't know, I wish I'd labeled it or something. So I'm like, please take care of everyone. I got to rest. And he fed our little one. He was so proud. She ate 2 full, huge jars of that baby food you had in the fridge. And I'm like, what?
Uh-oh.
No. And it backed up her whole system. And she's had digestive issues kind of ever since. And so
Mhm.
it was not the best situation, some better communication, labeling things. I think it is something to have your system like in place a little bit, like you do when you have a babysitter come over and you have like the emergency phone numbers in the kids' bedtime routine. The husband isn't there all day. And the day he does decide to come home and help, and you've maybe switched up the routine or a little bit of something that's working for baby during the day, they don't know. They might
Yeah.
need a guide. Just be nice and like have have something in place so that if you have a down day or you need someone to come into place, I wish I'd had a plan, like a better way of communicating, because I just reached a point I was tired and I handed things over without enough instruction for that to be helpful. And I think that's where couples can have probably a few problems to work through or different things. It's communication. So much of it
Yes.
comes down to that
Mhm.
communication piece. And then, sometimes they're going to do things their own way. They load the dishwasher different than you, or they change that diaper different than you do. Pick your battles. Like it's,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes it's like, pick your battles. You might be better at one thing with your kid than they are with another. It all evens out. And as long as they are, fed and clean and alive, you're doing great. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better.
uh, so do you have a particular client that you loved working with, or like a story about resilience? And I'm just curious what resilience means to you in this context.
Let me think. Mm, so many.
Moms are so resilient.
Seriously. Um,
And babies too, actually, I have to say.
Absolutely. Let's see. A resilient client. So I have a client, and we really just she just got discharged from services actually. Um, she has I want to say her baby is about 8 months old. So she has an 8 month old, and dad works full time. They've decided that she's going to stay home with the baby for the first couple of years. She was dealing with some body image issues, and so we kind of worked through, this is new, you have a new body. I can't promise you that it's gonna look like it did before.
Yeah.
Mine sure doesn't.
No, not either.
Um, but, just, take little steps to help you feel better. If it's going for a walk, if it's stretching. We talked about her values and the things that are important to her, and then identifying ways to live out those values each day. So one of them, for example, is her daughter, obviously. So quality time, uninterrupted. So phone down, TV off, just, face to face, you and your baby. If that's cuddling, talking, playing. And then another one is her faith. So she decided that she would copy a scripture that resonated with her each day.
Love
And
that.
so she did those little things, and it just really just turned her mood around. But recently she found out that she's expecting again.
Oh boy.
So the baby isn't even one. Yes, so she is expecting again, and just overly between the excitement for that, and then just a little small adjustments and changes that she's made in life. We've talked about having a routine, a schedule, because you can kind of go stir crazy being at home all day and it's just you and the baby. But having, still waking up at the same time each day, meal prepping, finding a space to organize, but not feeling like you have to do it all just because you're the one primarily at home. And so she, said, I'm feeling great. And so we kind of tapered off. We went from weekly, like we were meeting every week, to bi-weekly. And then she got the news about her pregnancy, and it was okay, we're going to see how you can do over a month if you can maintain your progress, and she has. So we're still connected, just on an as needed basis, because of course she feels like, okay, this is going to be baby number 2. I don't know what my hormones are going to do, so if I need to come back, can I come back? And so of course, absolutely. So now we're just kind of on an as needed basis, but that's been my favorite success story lately.
I love that. And the body does completely change. I don't think we are prepared enough for that. And we live in a culture that makes you think that it's just going to bounce back, or like you have some kind of obligation to do the impossible.
Right.
Because it's a mother's body now. Like there should be some pride in that, and those I know I got my stretch marks. I'll own them. And I can name which one came from which kid too, especially the last one. Then there's a big one all the way to my belly button. But anyway, they got bigger each time. They do that, I think, for most people.
That's what happened with me.
But, I have healthy children. I'm so blessed. Like, I am so blessed for the experience, and I wouldn't change that for a perfect body. And we are so much more than our bodies. And I just have a very strong, feeling about the importance of letting young moms and young women that are going to choose to be mothers understand that more. Like, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And it's important to have a partner who loves you for all that you are. And not just that, because that's going to change. And someone's got to be able to be willing to be there through those changes. If they're not, or there's any hint that they won't be, it might not be the best match. It may not be the person who can really raise a family with you. Two divorces talking here. And experiencing having that whole unit and then becoming a single parent is quite a shift. And if you can stay and be with someone and raise your kids, it's so much better. Science shows that it's better. There's so much in place that would say, yes, go for that goal. But if you do find yourself in a situation that is not ideal, one parent who's loving, who's attentive, who's present can make all the difference in the world. Yes. And so you can make the most of whatever your motherhood is, pregnancy, before, after, middle, or life changes, and the way your motherhood is different. And that's what this podcast is about. The idea that all mothers need more support, whatever your circumstances may be. We get to be mothers. We get to raise children. We get to make a difference in the biggest way in this world. And let's support and let's raise each other up. So I love the work that you're doing because it's another angle, another thought. Let's address mental health. Let's not just address doula, emotional support, or the physical. That there's a whole nother piece to this woman that needs to be a part of this process as well. So thank you so much. If people want to find you to work with you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I am online at www.destinationfortified.com. So you can go there, schedule a consultation to find out if we're a good fit. And then if so, we can get you scheduled. I am willing to offer initial visits within the same week.
Wonderful. And we'll have that info here somewhere. I think it's usually down there, but I like pointing everywhere else because who knows. And if you're listening on audio, go find the episode notes. Okay. So so that you can find it. You heard it, but it's here somewhere for you to click easily. I promise. So, well, I believe in you, believe in yourself. God bless. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you on another episode of the Resilient Mother Podcast.